Hi, I'm jack.shilley and welcome to another episode. In this week's episode I'm going to be showing you how to sow your lettuce seeds directly out into the ground. Now July is really the last sort of month that you can do this, so this is going to provide you with a nice late crop, and if you've been successful sowing, you're now going to be coming to the end of that programme and you're going to be to get ready to sow your last seeds ahead of the winter. You can also sow these a little bit later than July, but then the lettuce becomes ready to harvest much later on when the risk of frosts are increasing and that kind of thing. So they require a little bit more work and they require a bit of protection during those times because the frost will unfortunately damage and kill the plants. So I'm going to be sowing my last lettuce seed, which I got the other day from the garden centre, directly into the ground, and that's what we're going to do now, and I'm going to talk you through the process on how to do it. So the first step in getting the site ready to plant your lettuce seeds directly into the ground is to flatten the site and to give it a good rake over to remove any of the weeds and to level the site over so you have a nice flat area in which to sow the seeds and provide a good sort of germination area for those seeds to develop. So I mean, this is relatively flat and clear already. I am going to give it a little bit of rake over first of all because it's quite compacted where we've had some heavy rain, and then I'll show you how to prepare a line ready to put the seeds in. Okay, so I've given the site a really good rake over and I've hoed off any of the weeds as well. Now, in the process of raking, I've removed some of the large stones and large bits of soil that we don't really want when we're sowing directly into the ground. And it's actually a really nice area. It's nice and clear, flat as I said, so we haven't had to do a great deal of work. So once you've got it to sort of this stage, weed free, large stones, clump free, you can then start to mark out where you want your line to go. So I mean, the lettuce I'm going to be planting is iceberg, so they're relatively large, so I need to give them a bit of space next to the carrots here. I'll probably say about there. I'm just pushing the cane in to create a trench right the way down. Now that is okay, but it's not really wide enough, so I'm just going to go along with my finger just to widen that a bit more. It doesn't have to be perfect. Try and get it sort of about maybe a centimetre deep if possible. I'm going to do mine a little bit deeper because then what I'm going to do, like we did with the carrots, is I'm going to add some compost to sow the seeds into to provide a really good nutrient-rich area in which they can grow. So that's my line. I'm then going to add, as I said, a layer of compost in there to help aid the germination of the lettuce seeds. Like that. Now you're ready to put the seeds in. So once you've prepared your site, you've got your line, you're then ready to start putting the seeds in. Now the lettuce seeds are quite small, and actually these ones are not too bad. I don't know whether these are coated or not, but I mean this sort of size or smaller generally. And what you can then do is you can sort of position them as evenly as possible so that you're not going to be thinning out and wasting any seeds once they've germinated, or as little as possible. I'm spacing these probably sort of a couple of centimetres apart at the moment, and then once they germinate and start getting bigger, then we'll have to sort of reassess how much spacing they need. But generally that's okay. So as you can see, there's a good sort of maybe 2, maybe 3 centimetres between each one, which is fine. There's a few areas where 2 seeds have dotted in instead of just 1. That's not a problem either at this stage. And these are a lot more substantial than the carrot seeds, so they're less likely to run down to the end if we have heavy rain. So they wouldn't necessarily say you need to cover these with a polytunnel or anything like that. Once you've got them in the line and you're happy with the sort of spacing between them, you can then cover them over. So I'm just going to go along this trench and push them in from each side. Only lightly covering, you don't want to bury them too deep because then the germination rate isn't going to be very good because you're excluding so much light. So I'm going to leave this cane here so I know where I've sown the seeds, and hopefully within sort of a week to 2 weeks these seeds would have come up, and then you'll be able to see if the spacing is correct or not. So then once you've sown your seeds, you've marked it out, you've covered them over again and you're happy with where they are, the only last thing you really need to do is just to water them in. If it's going to rain or it's forecast rain, then it might not be so necessary, but when the ground's dry like this and the weather's pretty warm, they're going to dry out really quickly. It's always advised to water them just a little bit to help them on their way. Again, like with the carrots, you might see some of the seeds sort of bubble to the surface. That's not an issue, and they'll settle back down and they'll germinate as normal. And that's pretty much it. So you can really see how much of a simple process it is to grow your own at home in a really sort of tiny space. I mean, well, that's all we've got time for in this week's episode. Hopefully I've shown you just how easy it is to grow your own lettuce at home. Really simple process. Just dig out your trench, fill it with some compost, or if it's in a pot, just sow it directly into the compost, cover over, water in, and wait. And they'll be ready sort of probably somewhere between sort of 4 to 6 weeks time. You'll be able to harvest your first leaves. Join me next week when I'll have the garden review. I can't believe it's been a whole other month since we did our last garden review, and there's been so much progress because the weather has just been so good. So join me next week for that, and I'll show you how everything's progressing. And also don't forget to like and subscribe so that you don't miss out on any of the future videos. Do comment if you've got any experiences or questions, that you put them in the comment box below and share it with everyone else. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.